Hello everyone, welcome to Wordy Tales. Today we're bringing you a story about how discovering your own strengths and practicing with dedication can lead you to success. It's a tale that will remind us that we all have unique talents, and with the right mindset we can excel in anything we set our minds to. Along the way, we'll also learn some new words and how to use them in sentences to improve our English in a fun and simple way. So stay with us till the end. Once in a small, peaceful town, there lived a family in a quiet corner of the city. This family had a 12-year-old boy named David, who was in the 6th grade. David was an energetic kid who loved playing outdoors, and his favorite activity was playing soccer. Almost every day, David would head out to the nearby public field, where he honed his skills. One afternoon, after coming home from school, David slumped onto the couch looking deep in thought. He opened a school book, stared at it for a moment, and then leaned back into the soft cushions with a dissatisfied look on his face. His father, who had just come in from the backyard, noticed this unusual behavior and walked over to his son. Sitting beside David, he asked what was bothering him. David explained that he had received a poor grade in math, but that wasn't what was truly upsetting him. He shared that his close friend and neighbor, Matt, always seemed to score high in math. No matter how hard David tried, he just couldn't seem to do as well. Hearing this, David's father went to get a glass of water to calm his son. Once David had relaxed a bit, his father took him outside to their small backyard garden, which was filled with shady trees and a peaceful atmosphere. David, his father began, "I want you to understand 3 important lessons from what happened today. These are lessons that will guide you as you grow older." David, who deeply respected his father, was a bit confused but intrigued. "Can you explain those lessons, Dad?" he asked. "You will learn each lesson one by one through a challenge I will give you," his father replied with a gentle smile. After a brief pause, his father continued, "For the first lesson, I want you to invite Matt to play soccer with you tomorrow." David nodded, eager to find out what lesson his father had in mind. The next morning, the weather was bright and welcoming, and David went to school with his usual excitement. That afternoon, after school, he invited Matt to join him for a soccer game at the nearby field. As usual, David, who played soccer almost every day, dominated the match. He scored 3 goals, leading his team to a big victory. Meanwhile, Matt, who wasn't very familiar with soccer, struggled. He often lost the ball and made several mistakes. Despite this, everyone who played that day had a great time. Afterward, David cleaned up and hurried to meet his father in the backyard. "Dad, I played soccer with Matt today. What's the first lesson you want to teach me?" His father smiled knowingly and said, "Tell me how the game went." David described everything from his 3 goals to how Matt wasn't very good at soccer. His father nodded and said, "Look at this, David. Matt may not be good at soccer, but he's great at math. Just like how you might struggle with math but excel at soccer. We're all different, and that's okay. We each have our own strengths and passions." David felt a wave of understanding wash over him. He realized that people are different and don't have to be the same. But curious as always, he immediately asked about the second lesson. "For the second lesson, I want you to pay close attention to Matt tomorrow at school. Keep track of how often you see him counting or working with numbers." The following day, David eagerly went to school, excited to complete his father's challenge. Throughout the day, he quietly observed Matt, noticing how often he was engaged in math-related tasks. After school, David passed the time playing soccer again, until his father returned home. That evening, David approached his father and reported his findings. "Dad, Matt was counting a lot today. He was working on math problems, solving puzzles, even calculating things like change during recess, and he even counted the petals on a flower." His father smiled warmly and said, "That's the second lesson, David. Matt is good at math because he enjoys it and practices it often. If you want to get better at something, you have to keep practicing, just like you do with soccer. It doesn't always have to be difficult. You can start with simple things like counting petals on a flower." David smiled, realizing that he could improve in anything as long as he practiced consistently, just like he had with soccer. Without waiting, David eagerly asked about the third and final lesson. His father thought for a moment and said, "For the last lesson, I want you to think about how much better Matt is at math compared to you." David paused for a second, then hesitantly replied, "I think Matt is about 3 times better at math than I am." "All right," his father said, "for the last challenge, I want you to study math 3 times harder tomorrow." David swallowed nervously but nodded, determined to tackle the final challenge. The next day, after school, David sat down to study math. After an hour of intense focus, he decided to push through and study for 2 more hours, tripling his usual effort. But before he could finish, his head started to throb, and without realizing it, he fell asleep. Later, he was gently woken up by his father's soft tap. "Wake up for dinner and meet me in the garden afterward," he said. Feeling disappointed in himself, David met his father, his head hung low. "I'm sorry, Dad. I couldn't complete the challenge. I studied so much that my head hurt and I ended up falling asleep." His father gently patted David's head and said, "David, this is what happens when you try to master something you don't enjoy. It's hard to stay disciplined and consistent, but when you study something you love, discipline and consistency feel much lighter, just like how you stay dedicated to playing soccer." After a brief silence, his father gave him the final piece of advice. "So, if you want to be smart and become an expert at something, either study what you love or learn to love what you're studying." David, filled with admiration for his father's wisdom, promised to carry these 3 important lessons with him for the rest of his life. Today, we learned new words and sentences through this story. Remember, learning English can be fun when you practice regularly. So, keep listening, learning, and growing. Make sure to like, comment, and share how this story helped you improve your English. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story where we'll continue learning together.